hay's in the barn as far as the evaluations go. And I think just more of that information is coming out that, yeah, there's going to be a lot of individuals certainly that don't have a first-round grade on Shedeur Sanders, and there will be some that do. I'm believing the hype that the Saints will not take him at 9. They're the next obvious choice, I think, after Browns and Giants at the top. So if he falls past 9, then you're looking at the Steelers with the next desperate quarterback need. And then, you look at maybe the Browns or the Giants are going to start trading back in. But, if you're believing the hype on Jackson Dart and Tyler Shuck.
Are you on, Mike?
Seems like those guys a little bit better. So now you're talking fringe first and into the second round, maybe.
Okay, so I'm going to play Earl right out of break. You have an Aurora.
B2.
Sorry.
But with a lot of questions. He doesn't handle the pocket very well, takes too many sacks. I wonder how much of that is because of the terrible offensive line in Colorado. I think that is a legit concern, either creating bad tendencies or showing his tendencies when he's under pressure. I think he throws a good ball. He's accurate up to 20 yards, makes good decisions with it, has to cut down on those negative plays as far as the sacks go and be more consistent throwing the ball down the field. So, that description doesn't scream high-end first-round talent, which is why I think you're seeing more about him on day 2 and perhaps the back end of round 1.
So how likely, Steve, do you think it feels like it's likely, not likely, but it feels like there's a fairly decent chance that a guy that people thought at one point could be the number 1 pick overall may not just do an Aaron Rodgers slide down the first round. He may slide all the way out of the first round.
Yeah, and part of it's the need, too. I memean, last year there was 3 really good, I think pretty clear top quarterback prospects at the top and 3 very clear quarterback needs. This year you have the 3, but then you had other teams that had serious quarterback needs. This year it's the 3 at the top. You throw the Saints in that bucket maybe because of the Derek Carr injury, and then you have the Steelers. But there's not – and then the rest of the teams, it's like, would Seattle draft a developmental guy on day 2 because they don't have to have Darnold for the next – they're not tied to Darnold? Would the Rams draft a developmental guy? I just don't think that the demand is there. And because of that, yeah, you're talking about Shedeur maybe going late first round because of, like if the Browns and the Giants are opting into, hey, we think we have these blue chip prospects and the next tier of quarterbacks, however you want to rank them, are closer, we'll get one of them, either late first or in the second round. We'll get one of them, but we want to take our blue chip guy first. I think that's some part of the difference here this year. It's just not as clear top quarterback prospects and not as much need around the league like there was last year when 6 QBs went in the top 12.
Steve Palazzolo, 33rd team, joining us. All right. Who's the player that you think is going to be the most, besides Shedeur Sanders, the most intriguing first-round pick in terms of moving up and surprising people or dropping and plummeting and surprising people?
I mean, I think the Ashton Genty discussion is going to be really interesting. If the Bears take him at 10 or if the Jaguars want to take him as high as 5, I think just he's an awesome player. Fantastic running back prospect, elite prospect, but it's a deep running back class, and we know about running back value in the first round. Not always good bang for your buck. I think the offensive linemen end up going a little bit higher, always than we expect. Will Campbell, Armand Membu, Kelvin Banks, maybe 3 tackles end up going in the top 10, whereas a lot of times we have those guys maybe spread out across a lot of different mock drafts. And the other intriguing name for me is Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M, just because from a scouting and evaluation perspective, anytime you have the freak athlete who is underwhelming from a production standpoint, it's just always interesting to see which team is buying into that or which team is going to try to develop that guy, because there's not a great history of doing that, but it's not enough to preclude teams from trying. So Shamar Stewart's always intriguing to me just to see, he's got Myles Garrett type of measurables, but not even close to Myles Garrett type of production, and which team might want to take a shot on him in the first round.
Okay, so let's go back to Ashton Genty for a second, running back out of Boise State. With him, do you think that there was is there a push for the running back position, even though in a deep class, if you can find a guy that is that much of a difference maker because of what we saw last year from Saquon Barkley? In other words, is there a Saquon Barkley effect on running backs in the draft?
There may be, but if you look deeper, there shouldn't be, right? So Barkley was fantastic, but let's be honest, he was the cherry on top of a very, very strong foundation that Philadelphia had already built. They have a running quarterback, a great offensive line, and 2 unbelievable outside playmakers, and a good tight end. And then Barkley comes in, and he just takes advantage of all that, and he's fantastic, but all those pieces were in place. Much like Derrick Henry, went to a place where the pieces were in place. The other part of that is Saquon's value was, he was cheap on the free agent market relative to other running backs. So the two things you have to look at are the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Raiders, are they going to look at Genty as saving their run game when they still have questions up front from a run blocking perspective? The Bears have at least put those pieces in place. They've spent a lot this offseason on the offensive line. They could probably justify it a little bit more. The other aspect of the running back value thing is because of the way the contract slot, Genty immediately, if he gets drafted in the top 10, he immediately gets paid essentially like a top 10 running back, whereas a top 10 edge rusher gets paid like the 40th highest edge rusher, so that's where some of the financial value comes in addition to on the field, the running back can only do so much when the run blocking is not as good up front. So I think he'll probably go in the top 10, but I don't know that it's because Saquon Barkley had so much success. I think you have to look a little deeper than that.
All right, I buried the lead long enough. 18 overall. Who's going to be there for Seattle, and who do you think they're going to take?
So is this the year John drafts a guard? I don't think so. I don't think this is it. I don't think this is it. No, I don't think so. Look, I want to repackage what the first round is, right? It should be this place where you have this opportunity to get a really cost-effective, good player at a valuable position. And that's why teams don't draft guards as high. That's why they're not taking safeties. So I gave them Jahad Campbell in my mock a couple weeks ago. I would love that. It's a lower value position, but I think he's a clear-cut top linebacker prospect in this draft. I would love Jahad Campbell there. I could see them going with that next, like if Michael Williams is there from Georgia on the edge, I could see them doing a Shamar Stewart draft and develop type of option. I think they're going to get a premium position type of player on the defensive line, or maybe a high-end linebacker prospect like a Jahad Campbell. I think that'd be a really nice fit at 18.
What do you got coming up on the podcast? Check the Mic podcast, courtesy of the 33rd team.
We're going to be live all throughout the draft tonight, Thursday night, starting at 7 Eastern, all the way through the end of the draft. And then we press stop, and then we re-record and just recap the entire draft for another couple hours. So we're crazy. We're never going to stop. So live Thursday night and Friday night, days 1 and 2 of the draft on Check the Mic.
Probably be listening to you on the way home late from here at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center after round 1 and round 2 and 3 today and tomorrow. Again, we're on the air till 9 o'clock on KJR. Steve, great stuff. We'll wrap up the draft next week. Have a great few podcasts. Check the Mic podcast. Wherever you find your podcast, go find it right now. We'll talk to you next week, my friend. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Happy drafting.
Happy draft day. That is Steve Palazzolo, 3013. Make sure you get that. That podcast is fantastic for you NFL fans. Check the Mic podcast. Take a break. Come back. We're live at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center, 93.3. Your home for the best draft coverage, 93.3 KJR FM.
Be sure to make Sports Radio 93.3 KJR FM.
I was just handed the NFL annual selection meeting draft.
the 2025 NFL Draft. And brought to you by Coors Light, by R&R Foundation Specialist, the Queen Anne Beer Hall, and by Fox 13 on Sports Radio 93.3 KJR FM.
All right, welcome back in Sports Radio 93.3 KJR FM. Ian Furness with you, and I'm sitting here, probably a room that our next guest knows very well, the defensive meeting room up on the second floor of the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. It's where the media is stationed for the draft, which begins tonight, 5 o'clock Pacific time. Our coverage here on KJR goes until 9 p.m. Same thing tomorrow, starts at 9 a.m. on Saturday. I want to take people back in time. The year is 2010. The Seahawks, under John Schneider and Pete Carroll, their first ever draft. They've taken Russell Okung, offensive tackle from Oklahoma State, with the 6th overall pick. They have a second pick in the first round. And at number 14, they're sitting there. They need a safety. We all know they need a safety. People in Seattle are saying, we got to get Taylor Mays. He played for Pete at USC. We got to get that guy. And instead, they go up to the podium and they say, with the 14th pick, the Seattle Seahawks take from Texas, the University of Texas, hook 'em horns, Earl Thomas. And there were people saying, what's going to happen here? Well, you know what? I'll tell you what happened here. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert, because all this guy did, all he did during his career, besides win a Super Bowl, was be a 5-time AP All-Pro player and a 7-time Pro Bowler. He is back with us for the first time on KJR in a long time. Earl Thomas, how the hell are you?
I'm doing really good. That was a really, really warm welcome right there. I really appreciate that.
Hey, can you, first of all, I know how it is, because every time any of us in the media interviewed you for 10 years, you told us that you had a chip on your shoulder. And we always, Earl, you were a first-round pick, buddy. You got picked 14th overall, man. Why do you have a chip on your shoulder? But you played like that all the time, and I'm sure part of it is, you probably heard it, people saying they should take Taylor Mays. What do you remember about that night, 16 years ago? What do you remember about draft night?
Yeah, I just wanted to be around family. I made sure I just had it at my church. My grandfather built that church brick by brick, so I wanted to show him some appreciation. He was sick at the time. He ended up passing away a little bit after the draft, but I definitely wanted to spend some time with him and close family. So it was a great night. All the cameras and the ESPN crew, they came down to Orange, Texas to be with me, to make sure that the world got to see me get drafted 14th pick in the first round. So it was a really good experience.
You came to Seattle. Do you remember the call? Did Pete call you? Did John call you? What do you remember from that night?
Yeah, so I remember talking to Coach Carroll. I remember talking to Coach Carroll before I even got drafted. We actually had lunch, basically, for my pro day, Texas pro day. So he just took me behind the scenes and said that he was really interested in drafting me. And he said if I would be there, he would take me. And he ended up doing that. So I definitely remember those conversations that I had with Coach Carroll right before I got drafted.
It's amazing, Earl, because you came in and it was the way he wanted to put that defense together, and it took a couple of years because, then in 2010 they took a guy named Cam Chancellor much later in the draft, and then a couple of years later, and a year later, they took a guy, you might have heard of him, Richard Sherman, good player, KJ Wright, 2012, some guy named Wagner, Bobby first name, all those guys, but you were the key. Did he tell you, hey, man, this is how I want to build a defense? I need a guy that's going to play center field and be out there. I need Earl Thomas. I need your skill set.
Right. So I knew that Coach would do a good job of putting the right pieces around me. Like you said, we premiered cover 3, and they gave me a lot of room to adjust the plays, diagnose plays, be over the top so our big corners can press these guys and, catch a lot of interceptions. Also with Cam, just understand how big he is and, the threat that he brought to the defense. So, I knew Coach Carroll was putting all the pieces around me, just like he did with Russell Wilson. He wanted us to have a good O-lineman, some good receivers, and, Marshawn Lynch that he can depend on. So it was the same thing on defense.
It is Earl Thomas joining us here on the Beacon Plumbing Hotline. Jess, do you have our surprise?
I do.
You might have known him, Earl. I think he might have coached you a little bit, and he had a hell of a season last year with the Commanders. Do you remember Earl Thomas? Do you remember a guy named Dan Quinn?
Yes, I remember Dan Quinn. He was my D coordinator.
Dan, you're on with Earl.
Earl Thomas is one of the very best, I even say, like this is a long list and some Hall of Famers I coached. He's one of the very best competitors I've ever met in my entire life. Like an absolute badass from the time I saw him working out at Austin, he ran like a 4.4 at the combine. So I'm gonna do better. Busted his ass, ran like 4.3 at Austin. And I remember going back to Seattle saying, man, like I would so love to coach this guy. Holy and the competitive nature that and the standard that he set has left such an impression onto me about what greatness and competing and going for it at the highest level can look like. And it's not for everybody, but for the guys that are about it, like Earl's about it. And man, it's such a high standard. So when I heard you were on, I'm calling from DC, and I said, that's a real one right there.
Earl, what does that mean to hear that from Coach the day of the draft, man? What does that mean to hear from him?
It means a lot. So you can tell in his confidence, he knows who he is as a coach. You can tell he's going to have a long coach career. That's why he's so complimentary with me. You can just tell in the spirit. So, he trusts his game, and he understands competitors. We talked about some Michael Jordan books because, Michael Jordan is one of the greatest competitors ever. And we talked about just being a cleaner. And that was just me just keeping the post clean, making these tackles look normal. When I have opportunities for tipping over those, catch interceptions.
How do you get those?
Be a great communicator, helping guys get lined up, diagnose a plays before it happened, stuff like that. But, DQ, he was a great motivator. He always talked about that boxing mentality. And, the whole room, we took that mentality and we brought it to the field. And we was hard to deal with every time we stepped out there.
Dan, I know you're busy. Dan, we appreciate you calling in, man. This is awesome.
Man.
Great. Hey, congratulations on a hell of a year last year. You got a lot of fans out here in Seattle still. You know that. Jess is at the top of the list. Some guy named Wagner still plays for you along the way. Hey, Dan, let me wrap it up this real quick. We're reminiscing with Earl, so Dan, I'll let you get the last word before we turn you loose. Just what was that defense? When we look at those guys, I hear about the Ravens defense back in 2000, what have you, the Bears and all that. Dan, you've been around this game for a long time. What is it about Earl and that defense that just separated them from everybody else?
I would say their relentlessness and connection together was unmatched. Like you got one, like there wasn't anybody that they wouldn't fight for. And as a coach, to watch that, to see that, and the standard that they set for themselves, it was amazing. I can remember, and Earl will tell the story, we were in another team's facility getting ready to practice, and they had a stat on the wall that was, don't allow so and such points. And I don't know if it was Earl or one of the guys say, man, we got to take that down. Like the goal is no points in a game.
That was New York. That was right before the morning.
The goal is no points in a game. I said, damn right, bro. And so I would say they taught me a mindset of like what a group can do together. And I've been chasing it ever since, man, because it's like as powerful a thing when you're a part of something like that and you see it, you feel it. There may not be a metric on it, but like it's the easiest thing to see in the world. So he's one of one, man. I'm glad you're on with him, and just hearing what a real competitor looks like, sounds like, feels like. He's rare. So all you guys enjoy tonight, and I got to kick back to this preparation here. I'm out.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Congrats, Coach.
Appreciate it, bud.
Yeah. Hey, so the Commanders were very sneaky good this year. So I'm very, very proud of Coach. He's showing he can do it anywhere he goes. So.
You gotta love that. You gotta love that, Earl. Just what would your advice be to young guys coming out tonight? In the next couple nights in the draft that are coming in. I mean, everyone's a star in college, like you were. You came out at a really young age. What would an elder Earl Thomas like to be telling an Earl Thomas back in 2010?
Yeah, I would just say just get the directions down on what's expected of you, because you got to go through the interview process. They got to basically let the city know that you're actually a part of the team. People want to see your face. So I would just say just get with the people that you need to get with, and make sure you got a good itinerary.
Earl, what was your favorite? I mean, winning a Super Bowl, I know number one, but when you look back on your time in Seattle, what are some of the things that pop out? Is it the teammates? Is it the coaching staff, the fans? What is it about your time here in Seattle that was so special, besides the fact that you've got a ring, my friend?
Yeah, it was just I think what made Seattle so special was it was an opportunity for me to showcase my skills. I think I did that. I think I got to play with a great group of guys, and we're still bonding to this day. Yeah, I just basically got to show how good I was, and to say that nobody was thinking about Seattle. We was way in this corner, and to see all the success that we put out there over the years, that's what I think about today. So when I'm walking around Orange, my hometown, or here back in Seattle, people are going to always remember. They stop and say, hey, I had to sign some autographs at the airport as soon as I stepped out the airplane, and I haven't been back in Seattle since 2018. So that was really good for me to see. I still have fans out here.
Well, you're beloved. You know the next step is a Ring of Honor. I mean, at some point it's going to be Canton, Ohio. It should be Canton, Ohio, but at some point we're going to see you up there in that Ring of Honor here in Seattle.
Yes, that's always been a goal. I saw Steve Largent, jersey hanging up there every home game. So I always told myself that's what I wanted. So I'm glad that you brought it up, so we can keep putting it out there to the universe, and it's going to work out.
Earl, well, I'm screaming from the mountaintops, man. I mean, you're like I have people all the time when I'm doing radio shot hits from people across the country, like, hey, man, Russell Wilson led him to the Super Bowl, or so-and-so. I said it was a collective effort, but I'm telling you right now, there's a handful of guys they don't win the Super Bowl with, and 31 and 29 in the secondary, 25. Big Mike, Cliff, some guy named Marshawn. You might have heard of him. I heard he was – what was he like to practice against, by the way, Marshawn? Or did he just kind of chill and do his own thing?
It depends. Some days I think he just listens to his body really well. So, but he'll give us some great looks. He gave me some great open field tackle situations where he just put his head down and he wanted to see if Earl was tough. So I did my job of just standing my ground, standing him up a little bit, and those form tackles that I had in the game, it comes from those type of situations where I visualize it and then it happens.
And one final thing for you. You played next to the man, the enforcer, the one of the baddest dudes to ever play in the National Football League. What was it like, and what was your relationship? And it just felt like there was a natural chemistry between you and Cam Chancellor.
Yeah, it definitely was a natural chemistry. He just has that caring attitude because he's so big. I think that just comes with the territory of a tall guy like a center. He always want to protect everybody around him. And just be in the best attitude possible because he know what he brings to the game, and that's just that pounding mentality. That enforcer, the running back's going to be thinking about where Cam Chancellor is. Tight ends, they do the same thing. So yeah, he just have that nature about him that everybody on the team gravitated towards. And he used to play quarterback, so he's a very smart football player. Finally,
what are you up to these days? What's Earl doing these days?
Well, right now I'm collecting my NFL checks. I'm being a great dad. So I'm just been around, staying in shape, playing basketball all the time, watching sports, rooting on. I love Boston Celtics. They're gonna win another championship this year, and so I've just been watching sports, man. Just stay connected to the game. I have kids, so I'll be going to their sporting events. So, I just keep myself busy.
I'm sitting here at the VMAX. Should John give you a shout? Are you ready to go? Can you still play?
Yeah, I still can play. Teams just gotta like me. I know with my leg injury, that was on some red flags. But, once I'm out there, I know what I'm doing. I did it in Baltimore. We only lost 2 games. But that was just a red flag to some teams. And, most of the time, or I know in my situation, nobody really explained to me exactly what was going on. So I just kind of put 2 and 2 together, so I won't just be this guy wondering what if or what could. It's just my leg. So teams just not want to take a chance with my leg injury. So I'm cool with that. I'm cool with just sleeping in. I get a lot of rest. I look young. I'm handsome, so I'm happy about that.
I know you are. By the way, Earl Thomas at the Suquamish Clearwater Casino Resort and Convention Center tonight for a Super Bowl party. Seahawks, Julian Love, Kenny McIntosh, tight end. Actually, he's now fullback. They just announced he's a fullback. Brady Russell are all going to be there. Some former Seahawks like Sam Adams, Randall Morris, Alonzo Mitzes Moore at Suquamish Clearwater Casino Resort Convention Center. I believe it might be sold out, but you can go online and check that out at clearwatercasino.com. Finally, Earl, what do you want to say to Seahawks fans as I let you go?
Oh, thank you guys for supporting me. It's definitely going to be sold out. And, I've been hearing from the team that put this whole thing together that everybody really wanted to see me, so I'm excited about that.
Earl, I can't believe we got you on with Dan Quinn. Thank you so much. Great to hear your voice. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you guys for that. I need to hear Coach Dan Quinn. It was cool. was big of, especially this draft night. What pick does the Commanders have tonight?
Well, it's after 18 because they had a good year, man. I can tell you that. I'd have to look that up. Hang on a second. I'll tell you right now. The Commanders are picking. They're at 29. They're at number 29. Pick number 29.
That's good. That's good. That's my jersey number.
I forgot it. There it is. Exactly. That thing should be hanging up in the Ring of Honor is what it should be. Earl, thanks again, buddy.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Earl Thomas, there you go. Caught up with Earl and got a chance to talk to him, and it was a ton of fun. And I think with Earl, there's a lot there. And obviously what happened in the final game that he played with Seattle on the 30th of September 2018 and the frustration that he had, and obviously, the middle finger and all that stuff. And I know people have thoughts on that, 49451 on the text line. It's an interesting dynamic we'll touch in on the next segment because I did see the reaction on social media yesterday when we posted that we were going to have Earl on today. And there are some that he needs to apologize and he needs to do that. And I didn't want to go down that road with him today. Today wasn't the day to do that. But I'll touch on and tell you my thoughts on that next segment as someone who was there covering it, who was there through all these things and all the drama that this team had over the years, and good and bad. I didn't view that as a big deal, but maybe others do. We'll talk about that next. It's Draft Day 2025. We're at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center, 93.3, and Fox Streaming and Fox Local, 93.3 KJR FM.
You're clear.
So you don't miss every pick. Brought to you by Coors Light, by R&R Foundation Specialist, the Queen Anne Beer Hall, and by Fox 13 on Sports Radio 93.3 KJR FM.
And welcome back in. We're at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. Big thanks to Seahawks and their public relations staff as they have been working hard getting everything set up here for the media for the next 3 days. We always kind of ask for a little special permission to get in early to do this show 1 to 3. Softy and Hugh and Mike Holmgren are here at 3 o'clock today as we get you ready. Round 1 today, rounds 2 and 3 tomorrow. 5 picks in the first 92 for Seattle over the first 2 days. 1 pick today. Number 18 overall for Seattle. And big thanks to Earl Thomas. I know there's a lot of stuff on the text line. We'll get to that coming up at 2:30. Some thoughts from everybody on that at 2:30 today in terms of the Earl Thomas interview. I just want to share something real quick before we go back to the draft, Jess, if I can.
Let's do it.
Because I did see some stuff last night about Earl, and I understand what happened at the end, and I understand, the frustration that he had when he was being carted off the field in Arizona. I was there. I saw him in the hallway afterwards. There were a couple moments like that with other guys, too, over the years. I mean, if you remember, Quandre Diggs kind of lost his mind a little bit as well. Every situation is different. I think with Earl that there were there's no doubt that there were hard feelings at the end when he left here, and there were hard feelings to a certain extent with contract and front office and so on and so forth. That's not out of the norm. That happens all the time. This is a team that famously had one of its best players of all time sue them in Kenny Easley, and it took a while to get over that before Kenny was, ends up being a Hall of Famer and ends up being in the Ring of Honor as well. But, every situation is different. Every situation is different. Every situation that we look at is different. I bring up Russell a lot, and people, we're comparing that a little bit. There is a difference with Russell and Earl. Earl was mad about money and a contract and was frustrated because he knew his season had come to an end in a contract year and all those things. And the heat of the moment in a game, I think, is a little bit more forgivable, in my mind, Jess, than, say, what happened with Russell Wilson and trying to,
Well, heat of the moment in a game with an injury, with a season-ending injury.
In a contract.
In a contract year,
yeah.
Exactly.
And so I give him a little bit more grace and forgiveness. The Russell thing and why I'm hard on him, because people are asking, why the double standard? It's not a double standard. It's two different situations. The difference is this. Russ tried to exert some sort of weird control and pressure and get things done, get people fired, get people turfed. Russ had a whole different agenda. And I think that's what to me is different. That's why I lost a lot of respect for Russell Wilson at the end. And we've seen a guy that has gone from here to Denver and then obviously Pittsburgh for a year and now onto the Giants, that just kind of wore out his welcome at times. And, Richard Sherman didn't have the best, divorce, so to speak, from the Seahawks, but he's been welcomed back in. Mike Bennett at times had some issues with Pete and, remember reading the book in the meetings and things like that. He's now on the broadcast here. This is a very forgiving organization. It certainly was under Pete Carroll, and I think with John Schneider it is as well. And that goes all the way from Schneider through his staff. Mike McDonald didn't coach these guys, but, Chuck Arnold, who's the president, was around. So it's a very different – every situation is different. But I'm glad we got Earl on today. I thought it was fun to get the conversation with Dan Quinn was awesome.
Yeah.
I try to figure out, if people understand what a remarkable thing is, and I appreciate you, Jess, your connections with Dan and friendship with him and getting him
we
on.
should let people behind the scenes on that one just so that they understand how much he loves him. So Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator during the Legion of Boom era. And I've known him for decades. And so
He coached with your dad or played
he coached with my dad when I was in junior high school. Yeah. So it was a long time ago. And not that long ago. I'm not that old. But I texted him because I vividly remember how much he loved Earl's competitive nature. And I texted him telling him that we were going to have Earl on and that we were taping with him. And he FaceTimed me immediately. This is a head coach the day before the draft, who is FaceTiming me because he thought that I was with him and he wanted to say hi. So then I said, hey, do you want to jump on the phone? And he came right on. That's how much respect he has among the people who have coached him.
That might have been one of the coolest things we've done on this show in a long time. So I thank you for that. But
it was great.
I want people to think about that for a second. That's the head coach of an NFL team that was a playoff team last season. Went to conference championship game, right?
Yep.
And that called in the day of the draft. to talk to Earl Thomas.
Yes.
That's insane. But it also tells you the connection to this organization. That group was so special on so many different levels. And I don't know if it can be replicated again. I know there's a lot of teams that were our favorite teams in this area. The 96 Sonics people love. I get that. I didn't have that same affinity for them as I did for because I am old, the 79 Sonics that won a title. I compare that team a lot to the Seahawks that won the Super Bowl in 2013. They were very similar in this sense. Massive egos, massive personalities, but a massive amount of talent. And, oh, by the way, they won a title. And they overcame everything and won a title. That's what the 2013 Seahawks were. They had the biggest personalities in the league. They had the loudest personalities in the league, but they had the most talent in the league. But they also had some internal battles they had to go through and fight through and still find a way to win. I think they're very similar teams. But, when you hear the coach calling in to talk to Earl, that was cool. So
that was special.
49451, we get your thoughts on that as well. Seahawks, again, number 18 pick today. We're going to be on until 9 p.m. tonight. Corbin Smith's going to join me in just a couple seconds here. From Emerald City Spectrum, our Seahawk writer. We'll get to him in just a minute and kind of go through what we're expecting to happen the next couple days. That should be a fun conversation with Corbin. But remember, we're on until 9 p.m. tonight here on KJR. We'll be back on tomorrow at 1 o'clock from the Virginia Mason Athletic Center till 9 o'clock tomorrow for rounds 2 and 3. Back on the air on Saturday morning starting at 9. I'm going to go 9 to noon with Rob Rang. Chuck Powell takes over at noon, and then I believe Anders and Chris Kidd wrap things up at the wrap-up show late afternoon Saturday. So if you're out and about, you're driving around, you're doing your thing on Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, and you want to keep up on the draft, and you don't really care what the Jacksonville Jaguars or the New York Giants are doing in the third and fourth rounds or fourth and fifth rounds, just tune into here. We will have it all for you. We'll recap what happened on the first 2 days on Saturday morning, and Chuck will do the same thing in the afternoon. And I do like to pump our tires here. Between the knowledge of a guy like Hugh Millen, the knowledge of every guy that's in the draft like Rob Rang has, all the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounders that sometimes will get taken on that third day that Ranger has, our other experts, all of our hosts, we really try to hit this thing out of the ballpark every year, and I think we do, and we'll be on the air for a ton of hours out here at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll check in. Corbin Smith's going to join me his weekly visit from Emerald City Spectrum on day one of the 2025 NFL Draft. You're listening to our coverage on 93.3 KJR-FM and the Fox local stream.
NFL Draft. NFL.
About 40 seconds.
Draft. RFM Sports Headlines.
Headlines are brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light Choose Chill. Day one of the 2025 NFL Draft is here. It's upon us. Seahawks taking pick number 18 in the first round. At least that's the schedule. 5 picks in the first 92 when it's all said and done over days 1 and 2. Rounds 2 and 3 are tomorrow. Rounds 4 through 7 coming up on Saturday. We will have coverage, of course, here on 93.3 KJRFM. Throughout the draft, we're on the air live tonight until 9 p.m. Same with tomorrow until 9 p.m. and starting at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. You're home for the best NFL draft coverage, 93.3 KJRFM. All right, Mariners got a win today over Boston 4-3. What a great road trip. They win all 3 series. Brian Woo gets the win. 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, and just 1 walk for the Mariners in that game. They just kind of chipped away and got the 4 runs. Mitch Garver, a 2-run double, I guess would be the biggest hit along the way. Dylan Moore and Julio both with RBIs as well. M's return home, take on Miami tomorrow, start a homestand against the Marlins. That's enough. We need to get right to it. Let's talk draft with Corbin Smith.
Welcome to the NFL Draft.
Coming to you live from the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. This is the 2025 NFL Draft, and brought to you by Coors Light, by R&R Foundation Specialist, the Queen Anne Beer Hall, and by Fox 13. Now day 3 of the NFL Draft, and your host, Ian Furness.
All right, we're back here at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center, and a shout-out to the great PR staff here with the Seahawks. This is always a long 3 days, but they treat us well. They set this thing up perfectly, and it's a ton of fun to come out and cover this thing every single year, going back to the days at Northwest College. For some of us, not Corbin, but the rest of us, and obviously we'll be here all day today, all day tomorrow, into the early evening until 9 p.m. the next 2 nights, and then starting at 9 a.m. on Saturday. Rob Rang will be with us. Hugh Millen will be with us. Mike Holmgren is actually here, walking around. I tried to get him kicked out. Did you see that?
Yeah, I was with you. And it's just, you can't have distractions.
Can't have riffraff like that walking around. Holmgren just walks in here a little while ago, like stuff's getting set up. No one else is allowed in here unless you go. Like,
well, they just let anybody.
You had to get escorted up here.
I did. Yeah, I did it. He just walked in.
You know who didn't? The guy that built this place and designed it. He just walked in. He's like, I'm Holmgren. Corbin Smith is here. Emerald City Spectrum. What do you got up on the website real quick right now?
Yeah, right now I just put up our tracker. Obviously, we don't have any picks up yet, but you can check that all evening while this is unfolding. I've got all my scheme fits on there for college, including guards and centers for zone blocking. Okay. We've got big-bodied receivers. You can also check out nose tackles, which now is an even bigger deal with Cameron Young being waived yesterday.
Yes. What do you think of that, by the way?
I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. The knee thing last year seemed pretty ominous, especially when he only lasted 1 game that had to go back on. I'm assuming with the timing of that they probably had a physical or something that happened, and it just wasn't healthy. But we haven't had any information come out from the team on that front. So.
All right, let's get to the draft itself. Corbin Smith here with us. We're also stream live right now on the Fox local stream, and we big shout out to the folks there with the folks at Fox 13 who've been they'll be here, Aaron and Alyssa and everybody as well. Let's talk about what should happen, what could happen, what may happen. Based on history, we know this. They'll take offensive linemen. Let's just start there for a second, because I think that's the biggest thing that it's almost a misnomer. It's like, oh, they got to take some offensive linemen. It's like when it's said like that, it's almost like, well, they've never taken offensive linemen. Since 2010, when John Schneider first got here, 15 drafts, he's taken 28 offensive linemen, 14 tackles, 12 guards, and 2 centers. Now, those positions also were interchangeable. Some guys like Britt moved to center, who was a tackle, and all those things. But that's the most of any position group since he's been here. They've taken offensive linemen. The problem is, have they taken quality offensive linemen? Not really. Let's start.
And they haven't developed them either, and that's something.
Do you think that's the issue?
Schneider's talked about that a lot this offseason.
Yeah.
I think that was a big part of them bringing in John Benton, who has been in the offensive line coaching world in the NFL for 25-plus years. And so you bring in somebody that's really well-versed. And I think last year it was clear that Scott Huff was just kind of over his head last year in his first year in the NFL. And they wanted to go the opposite direction and really get experience. So they're banking a lot on the guys they've drafted the last 3 years. getting coached up by Benton and Rick Dennison and everybody else that's been brought in this coaching staff, which is why I will be surprised if they draft more than 2 offensive linemen with these 10 picks.
So the guys they already have here, we know the 2 tackles, and I just saw Charles Cross actually earlier walking down, looking good, looking healthy, and Abe Lucas is apparently going to be healthy for the first time in a long time.
He looks great. The videos I've seen, he looks really good.
So the tackles are fine. It's the guards and the centers we're looking at. They have Ola Timmy, Mike Davitsky, and Jalen Sindell all listed as centers on the roster right now.
Yep.
Christian Haynes and Anthony Bradford. Josh Jones is a swing guy. And then obviously you got some other guards in there too, including La Mea would fit into that category too. They've got some bodies. The question is which of those bodies can truly develop and take that next step, because a year ago on Friday we sat here in this seat and we had Jim Mora Jr. on. He's telling us Christian Haynes, 3rd-round pick. We're all expecting this guy to start, and it just didn't work. Scheme-wise or whatever, it just didn't work for Haynes. So let's start with Christian Haynes, a 3rd-round pick last year. Is he ready to step in, do you think?
That's the player from this group that I still think has Pro Bowl or even All-Pro potential if you can just get him in the right system, and I think this will be the right system for him. When you turn on the UConn tape, there's some nastiness to him. He can drive guys off the ball.
Mora told us that last year.
But he is a plus athlete at the guard spot. He is really good at zone blocking, and I think getting him on the move is going to bring out more in his game. And honestly, when you went back and watched when he played last year, were there some mistakes? Yeah, but I kept wondering, why isn't he getting more opportunities? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Scott Huff just had some issues with him or what, but I think John Benton is really going to like this kid. So Christian Haynes is the one from that guard group that I still think, look, it's been one season. We've seen a lot of times where guys have disappointing rookie years and then they turn things around, especially if there's a coaching staff change. I still think Christian Haynes has the talent to be a really good starter.
Because you can't miss on the 3rd-round pick, let's be honest. I mean, if you're picking a guard in the 3rd round, you're expecting him to come in and not just play for you, but start for you as well. It's one thing. La Mea was a 6th-round pick. Right, so that's a little different deal. If he develops, great. If not, then.
But he still had some good moments last year too. Yeah. That's the reason. Again, I'm not necessarily defending John Schneider on saying that we just like all the guys we had from last year, but those guys are going to be in their 2nd season. Like, you expect them to get better. So I understand that rationale, and that's why, again, I don't think they're going to be going out. Some fans are mock drafting like 6 guards. They're not going to be doing that.
What would surprise you at 18? If they made a pick? Not even a player, just position group or something. At 18, they pick something that surprises you. What would it be?
There's only 3 positions that I would put on there. Center, because this is a terrible center class.
Okay.
Quarterback, because you just signed Drew Lock. And that doesn't mean they couldn't draft one at some point. I see no way they're doing it in the 1st round. And running back. If they trade Ken Walker or something during the draft, and there's been some stuff about
There's
that.
some rumors about that.
But I don't
You're not buying it?
I'm not buying it. For one thing, who's going to give up any draft picks for running back? This is the best running back draft class in 25 years.
I think that because Corbin Smith, you're using common sense. And I hate when people use common sense on sports radio, because that's not what we're supposed to be doing here. It's ridiculous. You can't do that. No, but you're right. Like as deep as this running back class is, and even though Ken Walker is an established NFL player and has times flash brilliance, he's also been banged up a lot.
He's in the last year of his contract, too.
So you're not going to get value for him in a trade.
Yep.
You're better off holding on to him. If you want to draft a guy later and to go with McIntosh and Charbonnet and him, fine. But I'm with you. I can't see a running back going early. Certainly not a center. What else?
Quarterback. Those are the 3 positions.
Okay. Right.
But I can see linebacker. Look, Tyrese Knight was good last year, but if you can get Jihad Campbell can rush off the edge, and he is the best cover linebacker in this draft by a very large margin. Cornerback, there's some really fun players. Like if Will Johnson somehow falls near lap. Siobhan Ravel, I know he's coming off an ACL injury, but 6'3", looks like he was carved by Greek gods, had 2 picks in 3 games last year. He's a fantastic player that was getting first-round buzz before that injury. Janae Barron's a really good player that kind of has Devin Witherspoon traits. You could mix those 2 guys inside and out. I could keep going on with those positions. Nick Aminawari is a fantastic football player, and listen, I'm going to rant here for a second. During this time of year, I get so tired of the character assassinations that we see on so many of these kids. I've talked to 2 teammates of Aminawari from South Carolina this week, and there's been all these reports like, the question about his love of football and his leadership. Both teammates that I talked to who are starters on that Gamecocks team are like, The dude eats, sleeps, and breathes football, and he was awesome in the locker room. I was talking to guys that were actually in the locker room. I feel like there's so much just throwing stuff at a wall, just trying to make guys look bad that doesn't – if it's somebody like Mike Green that has a history of doing stuff, that's different. But
well, I think, Corbin, what you look at this time of the year, there's a lot of stuff going on, and that type of thing, a character assassination, is going to come with the territory that agents are trying to float stuff out there, teams are trying to float stuff out there, because everyone's trying to maneuver, whether it's a client into a better position to getting drafted, or maybe it's a team trying to put a smoke screen up and get somebody to stay away from a player along the way. So I think if you're at this time of the year one of those guys, you just got to have thick skin, sit back and say, listen, I've done my 30 visits. The guys know who I am. Away we go, and move on. Let me just talk. I want to get back to the 18th pick in a second for something else, but let me just talk quarterback for a second, because I think it's an interesting thing. So they obviously signed Sam Darnold. It was the Darnold for Geno Smith trade. We've all talked about that. Fit seems to be better here. Younger quarterback, less money, blah, blah, blah. Not tied into him for too long, things like that. Good fit for now, especially in a weak quarterback class. Like, we can't get past that. This is a weak quarterback class. Neither one of these two top guys, or three if you want to include Jackson Dart, right, are guys that would have been picked in the first round a year ago. And I'm not saying a year ago now. Like, say they had their same seasons they just had, and they're in this draft with the other six guys. They wouldn't be first-round picks. Cam Ward wouldn't be a first-round pick, more than likely, and Shedeur for sure, and he may not be a first-round pick anyway. So you got to stay away from those guys. But the interesting thing is the Drew Lock part. They're effusive in his praise for him. They bring him in as a backup to Darnold, still a young enough guy. To me, that tells me that if you're going to take a quarterback, it's going to be quite late, and it's going to be very much a developmental guy.
Yeah, the one name, look, my final mock draft that I posted on Monday, I used a 7th-round pick on him, and some of my listeners are like, we don't want another Kirk Cousins. Like, Kirk Cousins has had a really good career, and that is Curtis Rourke for Indiana. The dude played all of last year on a torn ACL, 29 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions. He took Indiana from being a perennial Big Ten cellar dweller to the college football playoff last year. Incredibly accurate, very quick release, and when he's healthy, he's not like a super dual threat or anything, but when he's healthy, he moves fairly well. You could tell last year something was not right, but I watched a recent video clip. He's already out throwing. He's moving really well. You could redshirt him for a year, though, in Seattle, and then he could come in and he could give Sam Darnold a run for his money. Because I think if he wouldn't have been hurt, we're talking about him getting drafted much earlier.
That makes sense to me. Like the weird one is, like, what if Shedeur is sitting there at 18? There's just you can't do that. I mean, we'll talk to Hugh about it later this week. I mean, he basically said 8th grade, watching 8th grade, recess with this guy, running around, footwork's awful, all the different things you see that he sees as a quarterback that I don't. But I've got Jackson Dart ahead of him on my board.
And
it feels like that's coming up. Now, that might be also part of what you just talked about, is the character assassination that takes place. That's one of the other things that kind of goes on, and so maybe that is but you didn't have to look too far to see that. Like, just watch a game. And, I mean, I go back to the Wazoo game a year ago in Pullman. He tapped out. Dion tapped out. Like, that to me is a massive red flag. Like, they tapped out.
I just don't see a guy that's got a high ceiling. I think he can come in and compete for a starting role for a few teams right now, but I don't see a guy that's going to elevate himself to being a top 10 QB in the league.
If Loveland's there, the tight end from Michigan at 18.
I've been hearing some things about medicals that would maybe concern me a little bit. It all depends on what the Seahawks think on that front, obviously. Missed some time last year. There's been some talk about knee issues. But if he's healthy, smooth route-running tight end, and this offense is going to use tight ends. Clint Kubiak is going to have the ball thrown to tight ends. That is going to be an emphasis. They're going to run a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets. So if you think that he can come in and immediately work along – I mean, he and A.J. Barner played together for a year. So – if you don't think Noah Fant is going to be here beyond this upcoming season, then that would make some sense. But there's so many other positions that are strong in this draft, too. I don't know that necessarily would be the best move for the Seahawks.
It's Corbin Smith, Emerald City Spectrum, with us here at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. We're 2 hours and 44 minutes away from the start of the draft 2025. It can't get here soon enough. We've all talked about it endlessly, and we'll get to that point. The wide receiver position's an interesting one in Seattle as well. They don't really have, unless you want to call Marcus Valdez-Scantling that guy, but by all accounts, probably lost a little bit of a step here or there. They don't really have an X. Like
they have the slowest receiving core in the NFL right now. They have 2 guys on their roster that ran a 4.49 or faster at pro days or combines. Yeah, they are the slowest roster.
Let me go through this. So Scantling would be considered still okay fast.
Scantling and Derek Young are the two receivers that would check that box off. Everybody else was 4.5 or slower.
Cup and Jigba?
And Jigba ran a 4.52.
John Reese Plumlee, Jake Bobo. We know
Bobo didn't come close to that.
We know why Jake Bobo didn't get drafted. River Craycraft, not fast.
He's quick, not fast.
Yeah. So that has to be a need, right?
It does. Look, if Teteroa McMillan drops to number 18, I think you absolutely have to consider it because he has the ability to take a top off of defense. He's 6'4". He can win the jump balls. There's some after the catch ability. But I actually like a couple other receivers better at that spot. Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State.
Spanaway, Washington, buddy.
I love the kid's
What do you
game.
like about him?
Just his route running savvy. And listen, there's a lot of people saying, well, he's an identical to Jackson Smith and Jigba. I don't see that. I see a guy that's got a little more big play ability in terms of getting downfield, but he's another guy that can create after the catch. He's a tough-minded blocker. He's an outstanding locker room guy. Everybody you talk to about this kid just raves about him. So Egbuka would make sense. Luther Burden III from Missouri might be the best after-the-catch receiver in this entire draft. Maybe after a trade down you would go that route. And I'm going to throw one more name out here that I'm higher on than a lot of people. Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. He is built very similarly to Teteroa McMillan, but he's faster. He ran in the low 4.4s. He has the ability to create separation. He did not have as many contested catch opportunities at Iowa State because he's better at separating than what Teteroa McMillan is. Not as many drops, and he also is a really good run blocker and gets after it. At Iowa State, you don't play if you can't run block. I just think Higgins is an underrated asset in this draft.
All right, so we look at what they've got going on as far as the draft. We'll wrap it up with Corbin Smith, Emerald City Spectrum. So we talked about the 5 picks in the first 92, yep. Right? Is that what it is? Yeah, first 92.
Only team that has that many.
And then after that, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more picks. So you get 10 picks total. Why don't I know that? My mind's already in motion. We're day 1 of the draft. Schneider's never moved up in the draft. I can't see that happening this year. It feels like there's a lot of teams that do want to move down. So it feels like this is a year we're probably not going to have a lot of drama. He's going to stand pat at 18.
Yeah, we'll see. This is the most unpredictable.
I say that, by the way, and it's going to happen. There's going to be changes. Watch.
Yeah. This is the most unpredictable draft that I've covered since I have been in the business in terms of just
You're talking league-wide.
League-wide.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out if there's going to be movement or not. Because if you would have asked me that question 2 weeks ago, I said, nobody's moved from their native picks, which is unprecedented. At this point, I just don't know that you're going to see movement. But now I'm feeling like we could see, after the first 15 picks or so, you've got like 40 players bunched together that are similar grades that are fringe first, second-round picks in this class. There's a lot of starter-caliber guys that aren't blue chippers.
So you go first 15, that's Indianapolis is 14, Atlanta's 15, then he goes Arizona, Cincinnati, Seattle, Tampa Bay, Denver, Pittsburgh, Chargers, Green Bay, etc.
There's one pick that I would watch there. Atlanta at number 15. The Falcons have only 5 selections right now in this draft. If the right offensive lineman, let's say if somehow Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas, or I don't think Will Campbell's going to fall past the top 5, but I'm just saying if one of those top tackles that could play guard drops there, or there's a defender that the Seahawks are intrigued by, you only have to move up 3 spots. You could move one of your third rounders, and if you want to recoup a pick later, you can trade back with one of those day 2 selections. The other thing that might happen that John Schneider's never done, you have all those picks day 2. If there's another player you really want end of the first, early second, they could go up. They could make 2 picks tonight. I think there is a decent chance that could happen.
Wow. So trade back into the first round later.
Yeah.
Take 18 and trade
if Donovan
in the first round.
Jackson from Ohio State, who is fringe first, early second, but if there's been a run on linemen, that is a guy that would be an excellent fit in this offense. Go get him late in the first. Now you have the 5th-year option to go with it.
So even though you're kind of high on a couple of the returning guards, you still think that could happen?
I still think you have to take a guard with the first 3 picks. With 50 and 52 or your first rounder. I just don't force it at 18. And I know some people hate that usage, that verbiage, but that's the way it works. You don't want to pick somebody just based on need. If there's a player, if you think Kenneth Grant is the best player on your board, you need a nose tackle. Go make it happen. He's a dynamic nose tackle. If you think Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College is the best player available, second in the nation in sacks, outstanding team guy that Bill O'Brien, a longtime NFL coach, has just raved about, then you go draft him.
See, and that's what we didn't talk about that much, Corbin. There is a need for an edge.
Absolutely.
There is a definite need for an edge. I mean, Mafe had a drop off.
Ezeraku was my pick.
Yeah.
I had him trading down with the Chargers in my last mock draft. Chargers going up and get Loveland because he played for Harbaugh at Michigan. Mm-hmm. That to me is a natural fit to keep an eye on if he's still in the
Yeah, because you've got, listen, I mean, look, Mafe's going to be out for the, or not Mafe, Nwosu's going to be out for maybe the start of the season. We'll see, but he's going to be pushing the finish line there. And then Mafe Hall.
Mafe's a free agent after this year.
Yeah,
and you got to decide, is he going to be somebody we're going to give a contract to? So I think edge is, like I said, I picked Ezeraku, and I've heard grumblings really.
DeMarcus Lawrence is 32, by the way. So yeah.
I've heard some rumblings since the Combine that Ezeraku is a player that this organization holds high regard for.
Shameless self-promotion, sir. What do you got?
Yeah, EmeraldCitySpectrum.com. We're going to have tons of draft stuff. I'm getting ready to go finish up my Burning Questions article that I always post a few hours.
Burning questions.
Yeah.
Not just questions, but burning questions.
The essential ones, yeah. And we're also going to have my tracker that's already up, and we've got so much draft content that has been posted the last couple weeks with scheme fits, and I have my top 100 big board that is now updated, finalized. All that stuff is available.
And we should mention with Emerald City Spectrum, it's not just Seahawks coverage because you got a couple guys covering the Mariners. We know one of those guys quite well, Mr. Crawford. Yep. Anderson Hurst doing some Sounders for you, but every team locally is being covered.
Connor Benintendi is doing a phenomenal job as a beat writer covering the Storm, and he just did a great job covering the draft, and there's all kinds of exciting stuff there. We've got 2 Sundels now in Seattle, so that was an exciting story, and we've got an excellent Seawolves writer. If you like rugby, that is a fast-growing sport. He does a fantastic job covering the Seawolves.
Emerald City Spectrum, go subscribe right now. It's local journalism. We want to subscribe to local.
Subscribe to local. Thanks for the support.
You're the best guy. Take care. That's Corbin Smith. We'll take a break. 49451. We'll get to your text next.
You're clear?
It's Radio 90.
No reads here.
The Queen Anne Beer Hall, and by Fox 13. Now day 3 of the NFL Draft, and your host, Ian Furness.
We are back at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center on the shores of Lake Washington. We've been coming here, first draft here, 2010, I believe, right? Yes, 2010. In this room. We were downstairs once when they first opened the building, but yeah, we've been coming here for quite some time, and they do a great job here. We'll hear from John and Mike later on. Boy, I didn't say John and Pete. I say John and Pete all the time.
Good
John
job.
and Mike, yes,
Nailed
we'll hear
it.
from them later on tonight. We're on the air till 9 p.m. this evening. Softy, Hugh, Mike Holmgren, Dick Fain take over at 3 o'clock. Then I'll jump back on with you guys coming up at 7 with, I don't even know who. I think it's Hugh and Rob. I'm not sure. Is that what it is? Softy. Executive producer Softy says yes, that's who it is. At 7 and 9 tonight. Same tomorrow for the second and third rounds, and then we're back here, Rob and I, on Saturday morning at 9, followed by Chuck Powell at noon. So we have all of your Seahawk draft coverage here on 93.3 KJR FM. So we'll be doing a lot. It's going to be a ton of fun. Always a good time up here. We'll see what happens. Corbin thinks maybe there might be a little surprise. Maybe they could find a way to have a second pick in the first round, move one of those second or third rounders to try to jump up a little bit. So we'll see if that happens. Jess, let's get to some texts at 49451. I'm stunned, but apparently the Earl Thomas interview had a lot of feedback today, it does appear. So.
Yeah, that doesn't stun me at all. That was a really special time to talk to him. His first time back even in the state of Washington since 2018, too.
Yeah, you know, that didn't really kind of resonate with me for time. When you get old, Jess, it just kind of doesn't mean as much anymore.
How long that was.
2018 was a long damn time ago.
Sure was.
Let's say a pandemic ago is what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the first time he's been back here since then, so cool to hear from Earl. 425, Earl Thomas, the badass of the badass, has freed everyone up to play their game. That's from the 425. 206. This is awesome. We love Earl. Wow, gave me chills from the 206 hearing from Earl Thomas. There's an interesting part because there's some I can't read for obvious reasons, either on the Fox stream or KJR. But he is polarizing. There's no doubt about that. He's a very polarizing guy in so many different ways. Ring of Honor is for great players and honorable people. Earl does not qualify in the latter, says the 206.
People have different opinions on the way that he left.
I think. Well, I would counter with this. Do you think Richard Sherman will be in the Ring of Honor?
Yes.
Do you think Russell Wilson will be in the Ring of Honor?
Yes.
Okay, so
all different exits, by the way.
Very different exits, very different situations off the field as well as on the field. All of them had different types of things going on, and yet I think all three of those guys will be in the Ring of Honor. You know, that's just the way it's. You can't. Kenny easily sued the team. Like, he sued the organization. He's in the Ring of Honor and the Hall of Fame right now. So stoked that Earl was on. Blank him needing to apologize. I get why he was upset, says the 206.
Yeah, we touched on that earlier, that it was not only the heat of the battle when he made his final appearance to the 12s, if you will, but it was also after a season-ending injury without a contract extension, and he still played his butt off enough to get season-ending injury during that time. He was pissed for many reasons.
Yeah. I'm just looking. I'm trying to find ones I can actually read on the air. Ian, thank you for keeping the Earl Thomas interview positive. Yeah, listen, I went back and forth on that about whether or not to talk about different things. I certainly wasn't going to talk about what a lot of you guys are texting about right now, about whatever he wants to do in his own personal life. That's up to him, and that's not my business. And frankly, it's none of your damn business either. It's salacious. It's fun. It's crazy. You talk about all you want, but it's
very TMZ.
Yeah, the only thing that I was debating about whether or not I was talking about his exit from Seattle, and just didn't feel like that was the time to do so.
I also think that you teed him up to say what he wanted to say to the people of Seattle towards the end of that interview. And that will be up later for people who may have missed it. The full interview will be up.
And if you missed, the best part of it was Dan Quinn calling in.
Yeah. You gotta, I think the point of that is to show how special the coaches revere him. And DQ worked with him the closest as the defensive coordinator during that Legion of Boom era.
It's just, it also speaks, as we were talking to Earl about that, the success that John Schneider and his staff had early on. You know, that first draft in 2010, Russell Okung, Earl Thomas, Golden Tate, Walter Thurman, good football player for these guys, a nickelback, some guy named Cam Chancellor. That was the first year. And other guys played. It
was mostly Anthony, that Thurman role got rotated.
Yeah, Anthony McCoy played for a while. Next year, James Carpenter started on your Super Bowl team. John Moffitt, okay, that didn't work. Certainly. KJ Wright, enough said. Richard Sherman, nothing needs to be said. Byron Maxwell, really good football player for this team. Malcolm Smith, 11-year career in the NFL and a Super Bowl MVP. He was your last pick in 2011. The next year, Bruce Irvin, 12-year career. Bobby Wagner's going to be a Hall of Famer on the very first ballot. Russell Wilson, enough said, Super Bowl winning quarterback. Just go through these guys. That was the first 3 drafts. He just hit the home runs. He's been better lately, has Schneider and his staff. They haven't been great over probably the 2013-ish through really 2020. Not very good. But they've been better lately. Jackson Smith and Jigba, and obviously Devin Witherspoon, Byron Murphy. I don't want to say the jury's still out on him, but I think that'll be fine there as well. So I love this. I love these days. I just want to get to these days. I want to get to 5 o'clock. I want to see what's going on. Stillicum, by the way. I said Spanaway. My apologies. Spanaway, Stillicum. My apologies for you guys. With Ibuka. My apologies. I get my Stillicums and my Spanaways mixed up. So, right? I'm sorry. A
couple new ones coming in. Russ is honorable. I'm not going to say anything negative about Earl. That was a good interview.
I would just say
people's opinions.
I think the issues with the former quarterback run deeper than they do with our guy with Earl.
That's fair.
I would just say that. I think they kind of run a little bit deeper in that regard. I'm not mad at Earl, but he's no Walter Payton Man of the Year. Well, okay, I'll definitely give you that along the way. So, okay. Let's. Do you guys actually have the Earl Thomas on, or was that Softy pretending to be Earl Thomas? It was not Softy, and it was not the best. The best imitator of Earl Thomas is our buddy at Como, Paul Konerke, is the photog over at Como. He does
a really good Earl.
Softy thinks all the photogs on TV look the same. We'll take a break. Softy's here. He'll join us coming up next.
This is the NFL Draft.
You have Georgetown coming up after traffic.
NFL Draft. Make sure to set your preset on the new iHeartRadio. NFL Draft, and brought to you by Coors Light, by R&R Foundation Specialist, the Queen Anne Beer Hall, and by Fox 13 on Sports Radio 93.3 KJR FM.
All right, back at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. Dave Softy Muller's here. What's wrong?
You know, when you're this exasperated,
I know,
and you still got 2 hours and 15 minutes to go before the first round even starts,
I know.
I feel like there should be, like, you know how when you go to, like, the mall or the airport, there's always, like, what do they call them? They're like comfort stations for, like, expecting mothers, or you know, there's a little daycare center,
like a quiet room.
Yeah, there should be a room like that for people like you. You can just go lay down, take a nap.
I think I'm just go jump in my car
Okay,
for a while and sleep.
Take a nap in the VMAC parking lot.
You know what it is,
man.
honestly. I just need this thing needs to start.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Like we've talked about every prospect like 10 times over.
Right.
We've talked to every expert we can 10 times over. We love them all. It's great. Let's just get this thing going.
Did you hear the mock draft yesterday, by the way?
Sure.
Okay, good answer. The guy that had the Raiders pick took Tyler Warren from Penn State when they already have Brock Bowers. And Millen had the line of the day. He said, if you're eating chicken wings over there, stop dipping them in stupid sauce, was his line. And I said to Hugh, I said, look, if Tyler Warren ends up being like Travis Kelce, does it matter that they have Brock Bowers? I mean, just get him, right? Play both of them. Do a little Gronk Hernandez special there in Vegas.
Yeah, and hopefully one of them doesn't kill somebody.
Yeah, that'd be a plus.
That would be a plus.
Just look, how about if Pete calls the guy and says, look, we're going to draft you. Just do me a favor. Don't kill anybody, all right?
So
don't be Aaron Hernandez, and we'll be fine.
So he took him at number 6.
He took him at number 6 because the Patriots took Jenny in our mock draft yesterday, which I thought was a great pick by them, by the way. I have no problem with
Our guy
Jenny.
Marcus won it. Who did he pick and
win? He had Emeka Egbuka. I believe he had Green Bay taking Emeka. And I made the same mistake you did, by the way, with the Spanaway Stillicum thing yesterday.
Hey, quietly.
I don't understand.
Is there a difference?
I have no. Well, I think one's in a totally different part of the state, right? Is that correct?
Well, no, they're both down South End.
Yeah, but they're like far away from each other, aren't they?
Stillicum, Spanaway, I feel like they're the same.
Where's
thing.
the bar? Where's the unsavory place that people like to go to? Not us, but other people.
Well, there's probably. I'm going to guess there's multiple in both places.
How far is Spanaway from Stillicum? Dick, how far is Spanaway from Stillicum? Any idea off the top of your head? 15 miles?
So I'm not that far
off. What
off.
the hell? Hey, you know what? We should just get to say Tacoma. And everything below Seattle is Tacoma. Everything above Seattle is Everett, and that's it, all right? I mean, it's not like Ian and I aren't from here, for God's sakes, and we should know where Mark James, the effing new guy, he can make that mistake, but us, forget about it.
The FNG can make that
That's
mistake.
right, the FNG, who's here, by the way. It's kind of creepy. He's been following me and Dick around for the last 2 days. I'm starting to get kind of creeped out by it.
Why are you here 2 hours before the draft?
Yeah. Why is he here anyway? He's off the air. He's done. Should be home. Well, they got free food.
Not till 5.
That just shows you how much we're paying him, by the way. He's here for the free food.
Wait, we're paying him?
He's going to walk out with a bag of food for the entire weekend, man. That's what this guy's going to do.
I thought he was volunteering for this whole thing.
Well, sometimes he acts like it.
It feels like we all are, aren't we? Yeah.
Kind of like an internship kind of thing, whatever. You got to prove yourself before you start getting a paycheck, son.
I did get the text from you. Holmgren's fine. He's here.
No, he got here before I did, which was a shocker, by the way.
And he came up, wandered around.
Right.
Said hi to everybody, and then just disappeared. I don't know where
he's in there talking to Steve Hutchinson right now.
Oh.
That's what he's doing.
How's that going?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. They're good now,
Those guys broke bread years ago.
Yeah.
That's over. That's like me and Danny O'Neill. Forget about it.
Well,
it's over. Done. Except those guys never got into a shouting match on the burn over here.
And no, they didn't. I'm sure they had
kick your ass.
I'm sure they had shouting matches. It just wasn't there in front of practice.
They did have a shouting match.
I think the issue was more a guy named Tim Ruskell, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, he's over there right now, talking to Kenny Made and Bob Condota. Wow. Who's got better hair? Is that Maine? That's not Maine.
No, that's
Dave
Bowling.
Who is? That's Dave Bowling.
That's Dave
what the hell? I was going to say that's not him. Who's got better hair? Condota, Holmgren, or Dave Bowling? Between the three of them.
Dave Bowling.
You think so?
Oh, by a lot. Yeah. Well, first of all, Holmgren.
Condota just looks like he doesn't give a damn anymore, which I respect, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah. He's a newspaper guy.
What's with the mustache?
He cares about his work
over here, by the way.
That's our guy Walker.
I know, but it's like he's hiding from somebody.
Thinks he's Doc Holliday.
It's kind of creepy, to be honest
with you. It's a Val
with you.
Kilmer tribute.
I don't know, man. There's something going on there. Are you running from somebody, pal? Huh? A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I traveled with him for a long time.
Yeah, I get it.
There's a lot of stuff going on there.
I get it, man.
Hey,
He's
Walker,
got
you want
some
to go out and get
skeletons.
dinner? And I got stuff going on.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to stay right here in the hotel.
I got stuff going on.
So are we on actual are we on 13 right now?
It's a stream.
Stream? Okay, gotcha. All right.
You know what? It's their version of the app.
So how many people are watching this right now, you think? A couple of college kids maybe?
There's
three people.
Three.
The three of us sitting right here were the ones watching this.
Levine's watching it.
They thought Levine was going to
watching.
be here. That's why they turned on the freaking stream, and now he's not here. They're turning it off and going back to watching reruns of Happy Days or whatever the hell you guys carry.
Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's Heroes, yeah. There
Who
you go.
doesn't like Hogan's Heroes?
I love Hogan's Heroes.
Petros
man.
didn't like it?
Yeah, he didn't like Hogan's Heroes.
What's wrong with
He doesn't like a lot. He doesn't like a lot. He doesn't like people. He doesn't like a lot of things, man. Animals, hates dogs. You know about that, right? Can't stand dogs.
Really?
He's allergic to dogs. He turns into Will Smith from Hitch. His face swells up the size of a watermelon.
What a miserable human being.
I know, right?
All right, where's the nerd machine for Hugh Millen?
He's in there, dude.
What's he doing?
He's gonna come in here like he always does, like
House
a
of
bat
Fire.
out of hell,
Yeah.
with 4 minutes to go before the show starts, pushing and shoving everybody out of the way, getting his stuff set up, asking where the power is, what's the internet, what's the Wi-Fi. He's in there talking to Holmgren and Hutchinson.
And shockingly,
Yeah.
none of those things have changed.
Oh, and
in 15
you know what?
years, 16 years we've been here.
I'm all done. I got my
ready to go.
draft board right over here behind
saw
me.
that. I
This
saw
is
that.
draft board 2.0 because my first one is still at the beer hall from last night.
Look at that thing.
I left it. Oh, this is terrible. This is an awful, awful
Wait,
draft
hold this
board.
up hold this up
Yeah,
here.
you like
Walker.
that? Yeah.
That is professional radio guy right
Seconds of work went into that, by the way.
Huh?
But see,
What's the cardboard from?
I didn't have enough
That's an
tape.
Amazon package.
Yeah, but it's a single-sided piece of cardboard. I ran out of tape. The creases are all messed up. I mean, this is just amateur hour,
What'd you
man.
order from Amazon?
This is the kind of stuff that you'd expect from, like, Brian McMillan, right? Not from Ian Furness or Dave Softy Mahler, right?
No, that's a B-man. What was in the Amazon package? 'Cause I see the Amazon.
I
at the
don't know.
bottom.
Ask Gina. You kidding me?
What, you don't order stuff off Amazon?
Well, yeah, but it's mostly her. This stuff coming 5-6 times a day. Honestly. I mean, you want to use the little guy, right? Like, you want to shop with the little guy?
Who's the
But
little guy?
They make it so easy.
Tell me who the little guy
That
is.
guy down the street
Yeah.
in Des Moines that runs a little pharmacy.
Yeah?
Get some candy,
Is that
you
still
know, some
open?
aspirin, yeah, some greeting cards, couple balloons.
20.
Why should I go see him when I can just jump on Bezos.com and it's at my house in 7 seconds?
All right, what
are you kidding me?
all right, tease your
What am
show.
I doing today? It's
Choose
the
your
freaking
show.
draft. Are
Well,
you
tell me
aware of
what-
that?
No. Well, apparently
I don't
a lot
know.
of people
Brett
aren't.
Boone's going to join us, talk some baseball.
Wait a
Petros will be
second.
on at 6
Wait a
p.m.
second.
today.
Wait a second.
We're blowing up. We're blowing. How about we just say the hell with the draft? We're going to blow the draft off. We're going to talk Mariner baseball. Series win in Boston.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, let's go,
Who
man.
knew?
Come on.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get Mark and Fane on the air and have them do LeBron versus Jordan for a couple hours.
I think that would
What do you
be
think
a
Rich
deal.
Moore would do if the Seahawks are on the clock and he turns on the radio station and Fane versus James, LeBron versus MJ on the air? Only reason why he likes Michael Jordan is because they share the same initials, by the way. This idiot probably thought he was named after MJ. This guy. That's the only reason why. Okay.
I like the idea of the James versus the
Fane versus
debate.
MJ.
Yeah, I like
It'll
that.
happen.
Okay.
It'll happen.
So that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, Hugh's not going to come in here till the end.
You might even just show up at 5 o'clock, man. I don't know.
Hey, he's in there talking to Hutch.
Yeah, and Holmgren.
And Holmgren.
That's right.
It's 2:54.
Terry, can you go get the
No.
superstars
Let's just
in there?
Let's see.
if
Let's
they're
see what
ready.
the over/under is.
He
on
doesn't
when they
even
join
care either. You kidding me,
No.
this guy?
All
My
right.
God.
All right. Well, I'll be back at 7 apparently.
What are you doing between now and then? Going back to Maple Valley?
No, I'll be over here taking a nap.
Just going to hang?
I'm
Okay.
gonna- if you see me with my head down,
Let's set up
don't
a
wake
cot.
me up.
We'll set up a cot for you.
Yeah.
All right.
You know what I'm gonna do?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put together my big board.
I want your top 100 prospects by 7 o'clock tonight.
I'm gonna work on my top 100 prospects for 2026. I'll have that up for
I
you
know
in
what you're
10
going to do. You're
minutes.
going to go eat. Going to go enjoy the
it's not
buffet
till,
here.
Not till 5 o'clock.
Well, I already had a salad.
Did you?
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
chicken
you wanted.
salad. I already did. So did Millen. Was that wrong, by the way?
Yeah, that's all right. When we don't get invited back here on the line.
Yeah. Do you care, really? Okay.
All right, Softy, Fane, Holmgren, Hugh. Did I get them all?
Yes. And, yep, the 4 of us. Correct.
God, that's a lot of people
Holmgren
in
will
one
be
show.
here from 3 to 5. He's leaving when the draft starts because it's Thursday night and it's his night to make dinner. He's got to go home and placate his wife. And if
All
you
right.
knew his wife, you'd placate her too.
That's it. Softy's next.
See ya.
For the mild-mannered,
Clear.
criminally objectionable Ian Furness.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Brian McMillan. Here's your Fox Local and Fox13Seattle.com forecast. Yesterday, what a nice day. We hit 66 degrees, and we've had just kind of a handful of cool days this month mixed with those warm days. It's been nice and even so far for the month of April between our cold days and our warm days. As far as precip goes, we've achieved about 2 1/3 inches. Average for the month is a little over 3 inches. We'll see if we get there. Right now, looking pretty dry here in our 7-day forecast. Pollen count forecast looks like this. Yes, this is the trees, the culprit right now for those itchy eyes and those sniffly noses. We will see pollen counts drop a little bit as we get into early next week, and especially by Tuesday and Wednesday as we bring a little bit of rain into the forecast. So today, spectacular. Lots of sunshine. Expect highs in the upper 60s to mid 70s today. Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, all in the mid 70s. Overall, just a warmer day for all of us, and tomorrow's looking really good as well. Lots of sunshine from start to finish. We'll be well into the 60s by the noon hour. And here is your 7-day forecast. Keeping with the 70s for your Friday. Saturday's forecast has improved. I'm expecting partly cloudy skies, lots of sunshine in the mix. It will be a little bit cooler with highs in the mid 60s, but still above average for this time of year. And then we will cool things off as we get into early next week and bring back a chance of showers Tuesday and Wednesday. Enjoy this warm weather and the sunshine.
We've learned the man accused of causing chaos at a local karaoke bar found himself back in court this morning. Anthony Settle, on the left, is accused of kicking an officer who took him to a hospital for a blood draw after being arrested for DUI outside the Crescent Lounge in Capitol Hill, which is where police were first called about the 41-year-old.
It really felt like this was just kind of an angry, violent person.
David Munden is one of the managers of the Crescent Lounge, a bar that's been in his family since 1980.
I can count on my hands, on my fingers, the number of times that we've ever had a violent outburst in this bar in all of those decades.
Munden had to count again early Tuesday morning after police say Settle groped several women at the bar.
And we have an absolute zero tolerance on anything like that.
Munden says when the bartender told Settle to leave,
and then he kind of just got violent.
You can see the situation get heated between Settle and the bartender.
He ripped his jacket off, ranted and raved, screamed, knocked a bunch of stuff off at the bar.
The karaoke host steps in from the left, wielding a bar stool,
keeping him at bay a little bit from him.
At one point, it looks like Settle is leaving, but the outburst turns into a brawl when he picks up a keg and hurls it at the bartender.
Assault of any kind, right, is disturbing and it affects you. But thankfully, physically, nobody was hurt.
After Settle left the Crescent Lounge, police say they arrested him and that he was, quote, clearly impaired. They say he failed a field sobriety test and also had an open alcoholic beverage inside his car. He was taken to Swedish hospital where he was uncooperative with the blood draw and allegedly assaulted an officer. Settle pleaded not guilty to assault and obstruction of an officer Wednesday morning. He's also accused of driving under the influence while on a suspended license. Prosecutors haven't filed charges on those allegations. Instead, they've requested a 72-hour hold. As for the Crescent Lounge, Munden says no one on his staff recognized Settle before Tuesday, but he is no longer allowed back.
The staff all are aware of who he is.
He says operations are back to normal for what's proclaimed as Seattle's oldest operating gay dive bar.
This has been a safe place for everybody in our community for many decades, and we will keep it that way.
Settle remains in King County Jail as of tonight. His bail has been set at $15,000. Reporting in Seattle, Nia Wong, Fox 13 News.
4 days left in this year's legislative session. The biggest challenge remains on how to balance a multi-billion-dollar budget deficit. Democrats are on the verge of pushing a number of big tax packages through. While the fight over how much to tax plays out, dozens of new bills have already been signed into law this week. One of them involves medical debt. Moving forward, collection agencies will be barred from reporting medical debt to agencies to be factored into credit scores. Supporters of the measure say medical debt isn't a choice, and many people are struggling to pay off unexpected bills. According to a study by the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, 30% of Washington residents say they are impacted by medical debt, even though their household has health insurance. A slight change when it comes to access to birth control pills. Instead of a monthly supply, women will now be able to get a 1 year's worth of birth control when they receive their initial prescription. Right now, state law allows a full year of birth control during refills, but not from the start. Insurance companies will now have to cover the 1 year supply all at once. And Washington has joined 11 other states in banning circuses and entertainment companies from traveling with a number of specific animals. They include elephants, bears, tigers, lions, and non-human primates like monkeys and lemurs. A violation is now a gross misdemeanor that carries up to a year in jail or a $5,000 fine. All three of those new laws will go into effect July of this year. The end of this session is this Sunday. There's always a chance the governor calls for a special session if lawmakers cannot come to terms over the taxes and balancing the budget.
According to court documents, the victim is 19 years old but has the mental capacity of a toddler. Those documents say that the victim's mom felt something was wrong, checked those cameras, and actually witnessed the sexual assault. Natalia Akinsheva appeared in court Wednesday, a Russian translator next to her explaining the severity of the charges.
The state is concerned given the facts in this case. They're rather alarming. The defendant is alleged to have raped and sexually assaulted a severely disabled, nonverbal 19-year-old who she was entrusted to care for as a caregiver.
According to probable cause documents I obtained, the 19-year-old victim is a client of the Department of Social and Health Services. Akinshiva worked as an independent provider through the Consumer Direct Care Network, Washington. For the last 5 years, Akinshiva had full access to the teen as a care provider, but probable cause documents state Akinshiva was a friend of the family for 25 years and knew the victim since he was an infant.
These allegations are extraordinarily serious. We have a victim or an alleged victim here who is very vulnerable.
According to the documents, a hidden camera captured Akinshiva sexually assaulting the 19-year-old on his bed. The victim's mom witnessed the assault and raced home. She kicked open her son's locked door and caught Akinshiva with her pants down. According to reports, Akinshiva claimed to be changing the victim's diaper, then broke down crying, asking for forgiveness, and citing their 25-year-long friendship.
Had the mother not had cameras in the home, she may never have discovered what had been occurring in the home.
Later, during the interrogation, probable cause documents state Akinshiva lied to police repeatedly about what happened until investigators revealed they had pictures of the assault. Then, Akinshiva reportedly admitted to assaulting the teen repeatedly over the last month, blaming her actions on her loveless marriage. I reached out to DSHS and CDWA in regards to this case. I did not hear back from CDWA. DSHS tells me they cannot comment due to the pending litigation. Akinshiva pleaded not guilty. The judge set bail to $50,000. Reporting in Tacoma, AJ Janavel, Fox 13 News.